Can AI really predict the stock market?
I think AI can definitely predict movements.
Does AI just make the rich richer? Is all this AI-driven investing creating a dangerous bubble like the dot-com crash or the recent market crash that happened? Hello and welcome back to Geojit Spotlight. The investment world is transformed right before our eyes, and at the heart of this revolution is a technology that sparks excitement as it does confusion. Artificial intelligence. Everyone is talking about AI-driven trades and algorithms that can supposedly spot opportunities no human can see. But what is truly happening behind the curtain? Is AI a powerful new tool for every investor or a complex black box that only the elite can master? Today, we are thrilled to cut through the noise, debunk the myths, and get a clear-eyed perspective of the future of FinTech. Joining with us is Mr. Jayakrishnan Sasidharan, the Chief Information Officer of Geojit. Mr. Jay, thank you so much for being on Geojit Spotlight.
Thank you.
Jay, when people hear AI trading, they imagine a black box they can't understand. In simple terms, what is AI actually doing? What is it looking that a human isn't?
I think AI gives us fundamental advantages. Trading inherently deals with a lot of market data, a lot of historical information, and AI gives us that opportunity to analyze all of that very quickly, understand sentiments. And markets are complex, right? You have a lot of historical context, geographical context that needs to be taken into account. So it's a lot of information that is structured, that is not so structured, that is not in one place, it's all over the place. So it's a need for us to bring it all together and create insights. So I think that's what AI does for us today. It has been there in some form or the other before. So it is not something that is dramatically new, but it has been there for a long time. But AI gives us this opportunity to look at data very, very clearly, understand those contexts, and also bring in, like I said, information from the social media, information across geographical context, market data, all of that together. And I think that's what is a strength that AI brings in into trading as a market.
So to simplify it, can we put it like this, that it's AI solves a jigsaw puzzle?
It does solve a lot of the puzzle. I wouldn't say it would solve everything, because human intuition is something that cannot be replaced, and so it does gives you a lot of tools and information and insights that can solve the puzzle in a much better, faster way.
Can AI really predict the stock market, or is it just something that we see in science fiction movies?
I think AI can definitely predict movements. It can really give a lot of data-driven context to the markets, but there is a lot more beyond data, right? It can go back and look at history or historical data like a human cannot do in a very fast manner, but that's not enough. The markets are a lot more complex. We have never been able to pinpoint and put a finger to it and say these are the 3-4 things that you get to know and you can predict the markets. So it's a lot more complex, and that's where AI would have a gap, because there are new scenarios, the combination of issues, the correlation of various events. You could be facing a tariff war, you could be facing a real war somewhere, but the world has become so connected today. And those connections, something that happens far away, can impact business in multiple ways. So if you really look at the supply chain aspect of precious metals, you wouldn't have thought companies would dramatically get affected because there's a tariff war happening between 2 other nations, but the whole world is getting affected by it. And it has nothing to do with data of performance for those countries, the market for green cars. All of that is great, but then you suddenly have a supply chain issue that came out from nowhere. So I think there are these aspects that the causal and the correlations that really need to be understood for the markets to how the markets will respond. Those are very important, and I think that's where the human aspect, the understanding of the geographical implications, all of that comes into picture. And so while AI can predict, I wouldn't think it can predict it fully. You need human intuition, a whole lot of knowledge around these aspects to come together before we can really predict it.
Okay. So traditionally, actually, when we look at the market, we would classify it into three kinds of people who would be trading. One would follow the fundamental line, the other would go with the technical line, and the third is the confused. They don't know what to do. So is AI going to help any of these or all?
I think AI will have something for everybody. Like you said, there are people who are a lot more structured. They look at data to their ability. Tech has helped all through people in multiple ways in these areas. So I think that's where AI will really come in and help, because today you can have models churn out stocks and your investment ideas based on the rules that you would have kept and given, and that can really help the more disciplined fundamental technical traders, definitely. But to me, what's even more interesting is for the trader. He or she might have uh, 25 different scripts, and you suddenly have the ability to understand what's the potential. Are you really carrying something that may not have a lot of future, or are you missing out on something that may be high in demand for the future? So I think those aspects would really change the ability and opportunity for the investor, because you're getting a lot of insights. So I think for all of these three categories, there is something in it. And that's the most exciting part, right? It's allowing people to come in depending on your interests. You can use the data that you want. You are able to get insights without having to spend a lot of time, and that's hugely powerful.
So according to you, then you say for an average homemaker person sitting at home, AI is going to be easier. It's going to make life easy for them in terms of investing or trading.
I think so. It is like this the agent that is supporting you all the time. Instead of having to call someone, or instead of having to read out something, you may have your own sources of information. A financial analyst could be sending you something very regularly, but that happens at a certain frequency. This is something that's available when you need it, whether you're at home, whether you're traveling, and you have it. So I think the moment AI is used for these kind of user journeys that we may call, then it's hugely powerful. So the homemaker sitting at home, when they have the time, it's a choice that they can just leverage and make some decisions quickly.
We hear a lot about AI taking over. Honestly, should human financial advisors and stock traders be worried about their jobs?
I personally don't think anybody should be worried about their jobs. Um, but there is a context. So if you picked up financial advisors, there are certain parts of their job that AI might do it better or faster. For example, if you're an advisor, you're in front of your customer and you want to talk to them or advise them, AI can definitely give a very beautiful analysis or more accurate analysis of their current investments, their goals, and how to take the investment journey forward. These are things that are today, the AI can very easily do it. So what it means is that the financial advisor can do really value-added offerings for the customer. Use this data, advise, bring the market context, bring the future context, bring real-life experiences, and give that context to the customer. So I think the job by itself will not go. The job by itself can change. And, now it is accepted that someone who uses AI for their day-to-day job can do it much better and more effective than someone who just doesn't use AI. So from that context, I think the job by its nature can shift, but the job is not going away from humans. So I think it's again the value, the speed, the quality aspect of what each of these roles will perform will change dramatically.
Okay. So, I mean, it's going to help the individuals do their jobs better.
Absolutely. Help the individuals do the jobs better, helps the customer get even better advice. All of that can really change the game.
There's so much talk about the AI bubble right now. From your perspective, is all this AI driven investing creating a dangerous bubble like the dot-com crash or the recent market crash that happened?
Absolutely. I think, uh, you know, I don't have to really talk about the recent crash, but it's something that was predicted or talked about for some time. But more fundamentally, I think very similar to the dot-com period, there has been a lot of speculative investments into AI-related companies, and more than 50% of the investments have gone into such companies. And then on the other hand, very similar to, because you bring up dot-com again, very similar to the dot-com investments that happened. A lot of them were not driven around value. They were a lot more speculative. There was no real ROI for a lot of companies. For example, at that time, it was driven by the number of subscribers or users for a particular application. There was no real business ROI. And in very similar terms, many companies that got investments, even in the AI world, has been driven around very similar speculative directions. So I think it's natural for some of those parameters to play in as we move forward. What you saw in the last week is probably around the same directions. But the markets have learned and have hugely probably understood a lot more from the previous crashes. So I think that's why it is not swinging so wildly, but it's also a real life scenario on how, even with all the topic that we are discussing, even with all the data analysis, even with everything that we have made progress around AI, um, we are still not able to avoid the crashes that are happening. Right. So that's where all these topics that we have discussed today has a very significant impact, because with all of that, we still can't avoid the crashes. It will happen. And the human intuition, the human ability to bring in that context is even more important, and it's starkly visible as we go through this. So to me, in summary, I think, yeah, there is overinvestment. It's important to stay fundamentally close to the value. It's important to go back to the basics as we look at investments in AI and what companies should look at. So I would agree with your point.
We are always told not to panic sell or get too greedy. Does AI solve that? Can AI panic, or does it remove the emotion that costs so many people money?
Emotions, we all know, be it the FOMO aspect or the greed or the fear, right? All of these three would be core reasons, one of the main reasons why people lose money in the markets. So I think when you have models that are programmed not to respond to these emotions, and obviously you are doing it with a lot more data, so AI models would naturally not fall for these emotional ways of trading. So I think that part is taken, right? It's something that will get solved when you really leverage AI for in your trading in applications or solutions. But there are things that AI relies on. It's how you have trained the model. It's how the data, what kind of data has been used. It's all of that can also drive some form of selling, or some form of the algorithms by itself can be biased in some form. So it may not be about your emotional trades, but it could be about the algorithm behaving in a certain way that can drive sales, that can drive biased behavior across a set of users who are using that model, and so on. So while, to your question, panic greed, FOMO, all of these may be controlled using a model, but there could be other ways some of this can surface up. So the models by itself can drive behavior which could be similar to emotional trade, and that's where there is a need for AI to be really monitored, managed, and reviewed very closely from time to time.
So it's like the it depends on the teacher who taught the AI how to do it.
Yes, it depends on the teacher who taught the student, and how the student is maturing as they get more and more experience or they grow up. So I think all of that is fundamental to AI, right? You are allowing the student to assimilate more and more as you go, and training is one aspect, and real life experiences and how all of that experience comes back is even more important.
Jay, does AI just make the rich richer? Is it widening the gap by giving big hedge funds a speed and information advantage that small retail investors can never beat?
I do think it's a very debatable point. Um, there are many areas where AI could be a great leveler, right? You suddenly have access to information in a very democratized manner. So anyone could possibly get a lot more insights of historical data, of market information, like nobody else, right? Or like everybody else. And that's really bringing in a very, very level playing field. Previously, on the other hand, it could have been just with organizations that had the might, that had the historical context, and that had a lot of funds within them to have got that kind of information. It's just today, information is available to everybody. Now, how do you utilize that information? How do you play with that? Do you have um, AI trading bots? Do you have engines that can drive speed, efficiency? A lot of that, it depends on your strategy, right? Of course, some of those strategies needs funds. So your current financial abilities to manage and operate in the new world can definitely help you, right? So your strategy might need funds to execute, and if you are in that world, and you may be able to do that better. But what I feel is it is definitely opening up the opportunities to a lot more people. It's more driven around how you're strategizing the future for your organization, and that's what will be a much bigger play than whether you are a big organization with a lot of bank balance or a smaller startup just starting up. So I believe it's a lot more level, it's a lot more opportunity, and it can help drive growth for everybody.
Jay, as a CIO, what is the single biggest myth or misunderstanding you hear from the public when it comes to AI and investing?
I have to be open here. I haven't heard a lot of people asking me about specifically in the trading world, but I think one area where a lot more people have asked me is, would it remove jobs? And if I apply it to trading, um, that's something that's a relevant question that has come up multiple times. So I think, from that perspective, like I said, it doesn't essentially take away people. It will give us opportunities right from understanding the market, understanding the particular portfolios, making informed choices, making faster trading happen. You can have trading execution bots that can do it much faster, much efficiently. So you can do a lot of these things like you have never done before. So to me, I think that's one question that has come up multiple times, and the other aspect is around you know this this thought that if a machine is giving you the answers, of the machine is throwing up suggestions, there is this world that you tend to trust that a lot more. I think, and that's where people have come back and asked questions. Okay, we are getting these suggestions. Do we trust it? Do we just go with it? And that's again a area where I've had quite a few people come back and said, okay, this is an input that's coming. Do we just blindly take it, or do we take a second opinion? How do you manage the aspect of trust with the availability of information that comes in?
Just adding to your point, information is already available for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's up to me how I will use it. So it depends how I use it. It will be beneficial for me, or how you are going to use it and how it's going to benefit you.
Very true.
It depends on humans at the end of the day.
Very much. Very much.
Information is available for both of us.
For everybody. And I think how you utilize it, how you strategize around it, how you execute. I think finally it all comes down to execution. We all might have the same information with us. Do we execute on all of them? Do we execute them on time? And all of that again is individual to individual, and that's opportunity.
Jay, one last question. What's the next big thing in AI and investing that's going to totally change the game? What should we all be watching out for?
I think the models that we have, the processes that we have, need to mature out a lot. There is an aspect of traceability, especially in trading, where we need to be able to explain the suggestions or the outcomes the AI engine has provided. So there is an aspect of explainability or decision transparency that's very important, and that's also closely linked to how the AI solution is ethical in our world. So there is a lot of focus or future in areas like that, which will drive growth, which will drive investments. And that's closely linked to the topic that we said, the trust aspect of, okay, this is the technology solution, but it is hugely trusted. It has, you can explain how the decision-making process has happened. And that will drive a lot more confidence. So, and that again touches a lot of what we talked about. Is your AI biased? Is it trained on a very neutral set of information? Is it continued to be trained on neutral set of information? And how do you do that? So all of that probably is one area where I see a lot of impact in the future. The other area is around regulations and control, and that's developing across the world. Today, we don't have a standard set of policies and governance around all of these. Different markets play with it very differently. And I think that's, again, something that will drive investments, that will drive technology choices. So to me, those are probably areas where there'll be a lot more progress. And the main intent would be that how do we use something like AI as a technology that can really benefit humans, something that can be trusted, something that can be leveraged in a democratic fashion across organizations, across people, coming from different backgrounds and different abilities to consume that. So I think that's where AI as a technology will go in my mind.
So thank you so much, Jay, for such insightful and, more so, frankly speaking, a very reassuring conversation. You helped us tackle a lot of questions regarding the AI. So thanks for being with us. And for our viewers here, if you have any questions, you can do put in the comment box. Thanks for sticking on with Geojit Spotlight, and do subscribe the channel for more information like this.
Thank you, Prabhas, for having me. I had a fantastic time going through this discussion. Thank you very much.